Hey, it's time for part 2 of Judge Mathis. College students in San Diego State College University.
Around November, December, I come home one day and I see these plants just laying around my house, and I'm thinking like he's decorating or something. I end up finding out they're weed plants. That's how far his addiction went. He never, and when I told him about it, I said, yes, he eventually did take them out of the house, I guess because they wouldn't grow or something like that. He found out that they weren't going to grow, so that's when he took it out the house. It wasn't because I asked him to.
Plaintiff Philip Green is suing his former roommate, who claims Philip was growing marijuana plants in their apartment without her knowledge.
Let me allow him to respond, sir.
First of all, Your Honor, in the state of California, marijuana is legal, and I'm a certified medical patient, first of all. So I'm not out buying stuff on the street corner from anybody.
Did she know that when you moved in?
She knew that I smoked. I didn't feel the need to go into detail about me having a medical card and everything.
You should. Anytime that you are, anytime you are committing what might otherwise be an illegal act, you need to go into the fact that it's legal when you move in with a person. As you just said, you didn't go into that fact.
But she either engaged in it with me because she also smoked as well. She smoked after we moved in. So I don't get why she's bringing that up because she smoked with me before.
Ma'am?
It's not just me smoking. She smoked with me.
Have you ever smoked marijuana with her?
Have I ever smoked marijuana?
Yes.
I've smoked marijuana before in my life.
All right.
So she smoked with me before.
Let's move on. Sir.
Okay, so
you're suing her, but how does she owe you for rent?
Okay,
damages?
so like you said, November, December, she meets the guy, we start having issues, she's getting emotional. So as November, December, the months progress, things are getting worse.
She moved out when, sir?
She moved out at the end of February.
And had you all agreed that she would move out without cost?
No. The agreement was if she wanted to leave, she needed to find someone to fill her room and pay her half of the rent until the end of the lease. No, she did not.
What months are you suing for?
I'm suing for March through August.
All right. And her share of the rent was how much?
$582.50.
Ma'am, what do you have to say about this?
One of the other issues that I did have with Philip, he continuously had people coming in and out of the apartment.
Ma'am, let's move on. What you're arguing is constructive eviction, meaning that the conditions were so bad that you could no longer take them.
Yes.
You started out telling me that the weed was so bad because of your asthma. You have a health problem so bad that you can't even be around marijuana. Now I hear and you admit that you smoke marijuana yourself. I don't trust what you're telling me about the conditions of the apartment. I won't trust it. Because you just gave me the defense that the reason I moved, a big reason, was because he was smoking weed. And I'll die if I get around some weed. And here you smoking weed yourself. Now, is there any other defense other than the conditions that he forced you to live in?
His cousin that he allowed to live at the apartment came into my room one night when I just got out the shower. I was completely naked and came into my room and he sat on my bed. Philip wouldn't know because he was passed out on the couch.
Did he assault you?
No, but I was.
Did you tell him to leave?
I did.
And what happened?
And he sat there on the couch and he
didn't leave?
No, he wouldn't leave.
So did you file a complaint against him?
Because it was like 11 o'clock at night, the next day I went to the landlord and I told her about all of this and she gave me permission to, she told me to write out a statement saying everything that had been occurring because I'd gone to her numerous times since November. She told me to write out a statement and that she would sign it allowing me to vacate the apartment.
So she said she's giving me a document where the landlord allowed her to get out of the lease and therefore she doesn't owe you anything.
So the same document that she just handed you, I have in front of me. In the document, it clearly says she informed me that I should find a new roommate to take over my half of the lease in order to save money. That's what it says in the third paragraph of the document she just handed you.
You have to continue reading.
Then in the end of the document...
Sir, let me read what I see as the most significant. And that is, it says, she informed me to put everything in writing. And once I moved, Philip Green, you, would be responsible for the rent because he now has 2 roommates to take over the lease. This is a confirmation of the terms of this letter. So, let's get to the damages you're suing her for.
The damages, she lived in the apartment 2-3 years before I did. Her family lived in that apartment long before I did. So when I moved, the carpets and everything, the stove and all that was already dirty from previously, like the sides of it and everything. Like they expect all that to be cleaned by me.
When you signed the lease, the landlord had not viewed it. Did that happen?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was never shown the apartment beforehand. And the way...
Well, don't sign a lease in the future. Hold on, college man.
Yes.
In the future, do not sign a lease without seeing the property which you are leasing.
Yes.
All right? So you never looked at it.
Okay.
And when you moved in, did you make note of it? Did you mention it to her?
We were both living there. So
Okay,
when we moved in, it wasn't a problem. It wasn't a problem when we moved in.
All right. So it only became a problem when she left?
Because when she left, she didn't clean anything. She didn't do anything.
Were you charged for the damage?
Yes, I've been charged.
You have the evidence?
I'm waiting for that to come in.
Okay, when you get it, bring it back.
The verdict next. And coming up on Judge Mathis.
You just gave me the defense that the reason I'll move, a big reason, was because he was smoking weed. And I'll die if I get around some weed. And here you smoking weed yourself.
Plaintiff Philip Green is suing his former roommate, who claims Philip was growing marijuana plants in their apartment without her knowledge.
Your counterclaim for $1,562 for moving expenses. How does he owe you?
I felt like if I wasn't put in a situation where I felt like I was unsafe, especially with his cousin coming into my room that way, I wouldn't have had to move. I did look for Philip a roommate and everything like that, but because of the forced circumstances with his cousin coming into my room, etc., I felt like I had to move immediately.
Right. And you did?
Yes.
So how does he owe you? For the truck or what?
Yeah, $62 is for the U-Haul, and then the $1,500 was for the deposit of the new apartment and also the first month's rent.
So you would have still had to pay rent had you stayed, though.
Yes.
So you had to pay rent somewhere. How can you sue him for your new rent when you had to pay it somewhere? You can't sue him for the new place that you stayed in when you had to pay rent if you stayed there. So no, I'm not granting you that. And did you leave with damage to the property that you caused, to your knowledge?
No, and I also have photos of the apartment, how I left it.
All right. And I suggest to you, since he doesn't have receipts or any other evidence that you have caused damage, I suggest that you not show me any photos.
Okay.
He has to prove it. So I'm going to dismiss your claim, sir. The counterclaim for the moving expenses, $62. Quite frankly, I'm not going to conclude he did anything. I'm going to conclude you got out of the lease because you wanted to get out of the lease. So he didn't force you to move. You went to the landlord and said, "Landlord, let me out." The landlord said, "Okay." So nobody gets anything today. You were let out like you wanted. Have a good day. Case is dismissed.
Cool, it wasn't no hard feelings about this. It's just about the money. So
my business is my business. I didn't put his business out there, but it was a low blow to put mine out there. But it's okay. If that's how he saw it, that's how he saw it. That's his opinion.